What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the 95 North Sports Machine. But before I get to introducing the fellas on here, this is a space. This is not Twitter. You will not be blocked by some guy named Chad. We all been privileged to that today. It's been a crazy day
guy?
on Twitter, man. But we got to start it off like that. But I'm your host, Berto, host of the 95 North Sports Machine. I got my guy, Antoine Smitty Smith, Chris Tipmore, and Bro Talk. We also have a very special guest this evening, man. We got Steezy A. Smith, a fantastic Saints podcaster, all the way from that other side, from the Pacific. But Steezy, man, what's going on? It's been a minute, man. Hope all is well been with you, but let the folks know what's going on out there, man.
Man, I appreciate it, Berto. Like you said, it's been such a long time since I chopped it up with you, with Unc. You know, it's nice to meet Bro Talk. It's nice to meet Chris Moore. I'm sure you guys are all lovely people. Otherwise, you wouldn't be a member of the panel. But I'm just happy to be here, man. You know, it's been rough over here in Seattle after a 3-game winning streak to start the season. You know, Seattle's in the midst of a 3-game losing streak. And I think that, you know, this upcoming matchup against the Falcons, it's going to be a high-scoring affair. I think it's going to be a shootout. I think it go any way. And I'm just excited. Seattle, we're getting a couple of guys back from injury. Byron Murphy, Reek Woolen, there's a chance that he plays. And earlier today, there was news that Rayshawn Jenkins, one of our starting safeties, was placed on IR. And so I'm looking at Kyle Pitts, and, you know, we'll get into this later. I'm looking at Kyle Pitts. He's had 70-plus yards the last couple of games, and I'm thinking he could have a big game here. So, but hey, I'm just happy to be here. I'm excited, and, you know, pleasure to work with you guys, truly.
Definitely, man. We definitely love to have you back on, man. Smitty and the gang, man. What's going on, fellas? Everything good?
Yeah, man. Everything how we rock around here, man. Let's get the rocking and roll. It's gonna be a crazy preview show, man, because it's been a long time coming.
Yeah, man. So week 7 in the NFL has these red hot Atlanta Falcons, winner of 3 in a row. Can we make it 4? It's, you know, we'll see that on Sunday, man. But a very interesting matchup against the Seattle Seahawks, man. Up to date, up to like right at this moment, defensively, you can't find 2 more evenly squared matched teams in the NFL. I give the tip to the Seahawks in third down defense, but relatively all up and down the line, it's pretty equal. But before we get into any of the specifics, Steezy, man, you know, your organization, the Seattle Seahawks, you know, put all their trust in first-year head coach and Mike Macdonald, man, hired from the Baltimore Raven culture. What's your assessment thus far on Coach Mike Macdonald? How do you think he has fared thus far in a very competitive NFC West, but just as his first tenure as a head coach for your Seahawks, man?
Honestly, I think he's doing a phenomenal job. You know, there's a few fans over here in Seattle that thinks that, oh, you know, he's getting exposed, or that, oh, you know, the spotlight's too bright for him. But at the same time, these aren't excuses. These are just facts. But 3 games in 11 days, when you're missing, you know, 3, 4, 5 defensive starters on top of that, it's a new regime essentially on both sides of the football, special teams included, right? And so it takes time to implement a system as complex as Mike Macdonald's. And when you're missing dudes, when you're playing 3 games in 11 days, I mean, it's kind of hard to get all that sorted out. On top of that, you're playing up against not just contenders, you're playing up against some of the best coaches in all of football. We're talking Dan Campbell, Ben Johnson of the Lions, right? We're talking Kyle Shanahan of the Niners, Brian Daboll. I know the Giants, everybody likes to clown on them, but his second year, I think his first year in New York, he took him to the divisional round. And so Brian Daboll, definitely one of the better minds, you know, in the NFL. And so a lot of people will look at the wins and losses and judge Mike Macdonald off of that. That's not me. I'm not going to do that. I know defensively, it's been looking rough in Seattle, but again, the 3 games in 11 days, the injuries, guys still haven't fully acclimated to the scheme and whatnot. I don't see Seattle getting blown out, right? And so I think as far as you know, what I'm seeing from a culture perspective, you know, the players are starting to accept Mike Macdonald. The players are getting along with the Mike Macdonald. They're even playing along with them. You know, they're in the media calling them a clown, but they're able to joke around with them. And I think when you have that comfortability between a player and a brand new coach, especially one as young as Mike Macdonald, I mean, he's 37 years old. I think he's doing a great job. And, you know, don't listen to what some of what these other fans are saying on Twitter, because a lot of them just like to yap. And I think he's doing a great job. He's only going to continue to grow. I've been saying this too, but you find out a lot about what a coach is when he goes through adversity. And so right now, Seattle is in the midst of going through some adversity. And Mike Macdonald has the right attitude, and I'm curious to see what happens this weekend. But I think he's on a rise, and I think he's only going to continue to grow.
Yeah, man.
Hey, nephew, He learned from the best. He comes from that Baltimore coaching staff, so he knows how to handle adversity well. If you remember, they had a GM named Ozzie Newsome. He's gonna be
one of the best.
Team up the right way, man, because he learned from some of the best. So this is a team in the near future. I think it's just going to get better and better as time goes on.
And one more thing, real quick. This isn't a direct comparison, but when I look at it like a Dan Campbell, for example, right? Everybody looks at him and they give him all this praise, and rightfully so, right? His first year in Detroit, he won 3 games. I know he didn't have a lot of talent to work with, but again, we can't judge a first-year head coach off of wins and losses. If we did, Dan Campbell probably wouldn't be in Detroit right now. And so it takes time to build a culture, to instill, a complex scheme. And so again, I think he's on the rise, and he's only going to continue to grow.
Yeah. Also, a defense that's on a rise in Seattle too. Also was in the news earlier this week, being one of the first teams to be active in this trade deadline situation, acquiring Roy Robinson Harris. How do you think he's going to fit into the scheme? You mentioned before we jumped on the show, you guys are getting some key members back, possibly Byron Murphy, Reek Woolen, superstar corner, and this year's first round pick out of Texas, and Byron Murphy the third. So Roy Robinson Harris, how do you figure Mike McDonald can just integrate him into this already talented defense?
I think right now he's a great depth piece, right? Ray Robertson Harris, he's done, I think, some good things in the NFL, particularly with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think what happened over there is Jacksonville went from a 3-4 to a 4-3 look this year, right? And so with a Ray Robertson Harris, he just signed an extension just last offseason. And so it's not like he's a scrub. It's not like he hasn't done anything in the National Football League. He earned himself a second contract in this league for a reason. I think, again, he just fell out of place. He's just not the right fit for what they wanted to do in Jacksonville. In Seattle, again, the scheme is complex, and to kind of come in the middle of the year having to learn a defense like that, I don't think it'll have the biggest of impacts. But as far as a guy that could provide depth, as far as a guy that's been a veteran in the National Football League, this defensive line, this front seven is still relatively young. And so I think his biggest contributions right now, on top of just being depth, is being able to provide that veteran leadership for the rest of the guys, because there's a lot of young pieces on this team.
I love it, man. Switching down to our beloved Atlanta Falcons, fellas, man, we're coming back home, which we're 2-2 at the Benz thus far, man. Coming back home now to play in front of the home crowd with, facing a very talented Seahawks team. We just came back, coming out of beating the Carolina Panthers, a team that relatively stayed, neck and neck with us for 3 quarters until, we blew it out of the water in the 4th quarter. But we saw the greatness unveiled, and I'll say greatness, man, because Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson, the 2 bell cows that we have, man. Is this going into this Seahawks matchup, in some words, a favorable matchup against the Seattle run defense? Is this a game that we just mimic from last week's success and go on and feature these guys heavily? I'll go to Bro Talk and then Chris. What do you guys feel about this matchup going into Sunday with our running backs and how favorable it is?
I think you do it again. I think even with the additions and, the health on the upside for the Seahawks, Byron Murphy is going to be huge for the Seahawks. But the offensive line and the creativity that Zach Robinson is throwing in the run scheme, I think it's going to throw off the Seahawks run defense. They've struggled, and it probably has to do with learning that new scheme, learning where their responsibilities are, and just figuring out how they all play well together. But we've talked about this week in and week out. We see what Detroit does with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. Similar style running backs. David Montgomery's the thumper. That's our Tyler Algier. Jahmyr Gibbs is that elusive, can break it to the house at any point. That's our Bijan. If we continue to do that, you hit the play action pass, doesn't matter who you are, you're going to bite because you've been being gashed. You want to make that impact play. Well, then guess what? Kirk still has the ball, and he's hitting Kyle Pitts or Drake London over the middle. So I think the game plan is going to be relatively similar, but I think each week we've seen Zach Robinson throw in a new wrinkle that teams have not been able to be prepared for. And I think that's part of a new offensive scheme that Zach is just continuously growing each and every week. So it's a favorable matchup, and it's just going to come down to our boy Zach. Can he come up with the right game plan? Because the players are executing. It's now up to him to prepare for this game.
Facts.
Right, man. Great point, brother. Great point. And just like you were saying, honestly, the Lions game was kind of like the game that kind of, everything kind of like sent the Seahawks into a dismal spell. The Lions punched them right in the mouth, like straight up and down, and then they've been kind of reeling since that game. But I think we can handle the Seahawks defense, run defense. I believe you give the ball to Tyler, give the ball to Bijan, use Kyle Pitts against the linebackers, and of course against the safeties. I believe you can get this offense flowing respectfully. I said the first 3 weeks, the Seahawks didn't play against elite quarterback play. They really just did not. This is probably like the second elite. I don't know. Some people call Jared Goff elite. Some people don't. I mean, it's all about your perspective, but I believe in Kirk Cousins even more than Jared Goff. I believe that he'll be able to find the receivers into the zone when he's passing. I believe that he also will be able to pinpoint, have pinpoint accuracy with his passes in order to be able to get down the field. Drake London has been used like a Puka Nacua, like how they used him out there in the Rams last year. I believe that the Falcons have the ability to keep it going, but they got to start with the run game because the Seahawks have been struggling with the run defense. In all honesty, to the 11 games and the three games in 11 days, that does kind of hurt, any defense. But you have these bell cows, just like Berto was saying. You can use them, give the ball to your run game, let them wear down this defense. And I believe, you can control the time of possession and wear down this Seahawks defense and cruise to another win at home.
Yeah, Chris, and I think honestly, man, that's going to be the key running the football. And I've said it, that's been the bread and butter the last 3-4 years. So, why not stick with that? We know Kirk Cousins is good in play action. The last 2 weeks, he's thrown for well over 700 yards. So, run the ball, control the clock, and let Kirk Cousins get that play action going. One guy I would look for this game with Tariq Woolen possibly not playing is Darnell Mooney stretching the field. I think he's going to have a big game this week if we get the pass game going like I know we can. So look for Darnell Mooney to have a big game if they run the ball effectively and Tariq Woolen does not play. That's one guy I'm going to keep an eye on.
That's true.
Yeah, man, we've seen in the past, and this one goes to you, Steezy. We gotta pick your brain here on what the game planning is in terms of Ryan Grubb, the offensive coordinator. We've seen some dynamic offenses from him with the Washington Huskies and such, but we did see a little back and forth on the sideline with DK Metcalf, man. So is that, should we make anything of that, man? What can you tell us about that, man? Because definitely DK Metcalf, one of the more physical presence in the wide receiver world. Not a diva by any stretch of the imagination, but I know that frustration was settling in that game. But your assessment right quick on what Ryan Grubbs has done for this offense. He has Geno playing, pretty well, man. Protecting the ball, offensive wise, can't say the same with the offensive line. Geno's one of the higher sack guys in the NFL, but he does lead the NFL in passing. And one metric, don't know if the panel knows this, he does better against an extra blitzer than the front four. And that's a weird stat that, in pressure, he does better than facing just a standard four-man pressure. With Atlanta, we dial up the pressure. I think we blitz like 36 or 38% of the time on dropbacks and whatnot. But, to Geno Smith's success on the Ryan Grubbs, how much of this is Geno now being a veteran, and what has Ryan Grubb meant to this Seahawks offense?
Man, there was a lot that you brought up, Berto. I think to kind of start off with what you asked earlier about DK Metcalf and what we saw transpire on the sidelines. Gotcha. I think that when you're a player of his, stature, of his status, it's a good thing, when he's asking for the football, not to the detriment of the team, right? Like he did have 11 targets. Some of those balls, though, weren't the best, but at the same time, he had a couple opportunities where the ball just went right through his hands or where it hit his hands and he didn't end up coming up with the catch. He is 6'4", 230, 240 plus pounds. And I'm seeing smaller receivers in the National Football League make contested catches like that. Right. And so that's definitely not an excuse. He definitely has to clean that up. He didn't come into the league with the cleanest of hands. Now he has reduced, the number of drops with every passing year. And so As long as he's working on that aspect of his game, I'm okay with that little sideline blow up, because a star receiver, a star football player, I mean, for the most part, maybe if it's not as animated as what we saw, I think it's only right that you ask for the ball, that you're calling for the football. You're the best player on this offense. And if you feel like you're not getting the ball, you're not getting the opportunities, then you got to say something, right? Closed mouths don't get fed. And so I don't have too much of a problem with it. Now, maybe he didn't want to, or maybe there's a better way to kind of go about it rather than, causing a scene on national TV just because all eyes are on you. Everybody is watching you. But if what I saw from one of the local reporters from out here, he did mention on Twitter earlier today that Mike McDonald and the players had a coach and players only meeting. What was it, this past Monday? And Deacon Metcalf talked about that in his press conference earlier today. And he talked about how they really needed that. And, there was nothing personal, no personal shots were thrown. But they felt like that meeting was productive. They felt like that meeting kind of brought this team back together, because they did feel like, and Chris, you brought this up earlier after the Lions game. I mean, everything has kind of been in disarray, for this football team. Like, 3 games in 11 days doesn't help. But at the same time, this is National Football League. We're talking about they're getting paid millions of dollars. And so that's not an excuse, just a fact. But again, I do feel like with the team kind of getting together and having that meeting, holding each other accountable, calling each other out without getting personal, I think that was much needed. And again, like I talked about earlier, we find out what sort of people human beings are when their backs are against the wall, when they're faced with adversity. Well, right now, this is adversity, right? You lose 3 games in a row. There's definitely some adversity after a hot start to the season. And so I think everything's going to be all right, right? And as far as Ryan Grubb and what he's meant to this offense, he hasn't been the world beater that I thought that he would be, just because there have been a couple of instances, a couple of games in which he gets a little too pass heavy, right? You talked about how the offensive line, it's not the best, right? It's probably one of the worst, a bottom 5 offensive line in the National Football League. It doesn't help that Abraham Lucas isn't there. It doesn't help that George Fant isn't there. It doesn't help that Connor Williams missed almost essentially all of training camp, is recovering from a torn ACL. Again, it sounds like excuses, but this offensive line, they just didn't have a lot to work with entering the year. And so when it comes to the offensive game plan, when you're dropping back to pass so many times and you become a one-dimensional offense and you stop running the football in the second half, when you don't run the football in the first half, but then you're trying to play catch up in the second half, you can't run the football, right? And so there have been a couple of games, there have been a couple of instances in which I feel like Ryan Grubb has turned a little too one-dimensional, right? But then there also have been games in which in the second half, he's kind of turned things around. And so right now, I'd say it's been a bit of a mixed bag. I definitely want to see a little bit more balance. It's cool and all to lead the league in passing yards. Geno Smith is leading the league in that regard. The Seahawks as a team is leading the league as a team. But at the same time, I mean, when you're a one-dimensional offense, I just don't think that's a recipe for success. And so I would like to see some more consistency on Ryan Grubb's part. But at the same time, the talent is there. The veterans are there. The resumes of a guy like a Ryan Grubb is there. And so I have no doubt in my mind that they'll be able to right the ship. I don't know if it'll be this weekend, but it should happen soon.
Oh, no, it can't be this weekend. You can't do that. I'm just saying, fellas, because my thing. Go ahead, Smith.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, I agree with nephew, man, that when you talk about Geno Smith and how well Seattle can run the ball with Kenny Walker and Charbonnet and his play action, that's actually his strength as well, because he has one of the best deep balls in the NFL. So when you talk about taking away the run game from Seattle, that takes away from the strength of Geno Smith. And like you said, when they get one-dimensional, that when it becomes a problem. So that's something that Atlanta has to capitalize on.
Right. And the thing about it is, this is a week to where the Atlanta defense has to bow up, like, honestly, as far as like run defense goes, because we both teams are kind of like mirroring images when it comes to run defense. The Falcons are allowing the 7th most rushing yards in the NFL at 142.7. Now that can come down some more if we just go ahead and just lock in on defense. We have to stop the run and kind of make them one-dimensional again. And something else, both teams make adjustments at halftime. The Seahawks, they make adjustments, and they have been able to like score points and try to come back. Guess what? The Falcons make adjustments and they stop people. So this is going to be an interesting matchup, depending on what happens in the first half, but even more in the second half, because both teams are able to make adjustments. Both teams are kind of mirroring images of each other right now. As far as giving up yardage, the Falcons are 17th, the Seahawks are 19th. They're it's like we're closer, right there by each other. So it's going to be, I think.
So what does that tell you? Whoever gets out to the fast start, 9 times out of 10, that's who's going to take the game.
And you got to beat up. You got to see it's going to come down to also who wears down the fastest. Like which defense wears down the fastest, which rushing attack can wear it down. And that's where I believe into my Falcons with Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson, thunder and lightning right here, man. I really believe it.
So I have a question for Steezy and what you see from an outside perspective. Everyone does their homework on their opponent, and this week it being the Seahawks. That right side of the offensive line, we know they're bad, right, in pass protection, right? Stone. What's his name? Stone Forsythe.
Stone Forsythe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So he kind of hit the national media of like he's really bad, and I saw it. And granted, last game he was facing Nick Bosa, one of the top edge rushers. So, but it's still not good. My question to you is how you say that Grubb needs to have more continuity. From what I see in the run game, that right side struggles as well to hold their blocks and actually get to their spot. There were a couple plays where I was watching them. I couldn't tell if it was inside, outside zone. I couldn't tell who was in the wrong, whether it was the guard, Bradford, or Forsey. So do you think Grubb is abandoning his game plan because the run game isn't effective? Because the Seahawks are the 4th worst rushing attack in the league. Now, granted, it's still not bad. They're just under 100 yards a game. But how much of that right side do you think and credit to Kenneth Walker, because without him, I don't think any positivity would be in that run game, in my opinion. What do you see as far as do you think that's why he might be going pass heavy, because he knows Geno can make things happen?
Man, that's a great observation, bro. And honestly, that's actually been, the talk of the town here in Seattle, right? A lot of people are starting to point out the fact that, maybe we're pass heavy for a reason, because and bro talk, what was your name?
Kev.
Okay. Yeah. So Kev, I mean, just in watching film, Stone Forsythe is just out of place, right? A lot of times he's on an island. He doesn't know who to block. He doesn't know what he's doing, right? It seems like the communication is a little off. And so to kind of address your point, I will say, yes, I think that does play a factor in the game plan being so pass heavy, because you don't have confidence in some of your offensive linemen, right? When you're down to your 3rd string, I mean, what kind of faith are you supposed to have in your 3rd string? I know that sounds disrespectful. I know that sounds bad, but let's just call it what it is, right? When you have a 3rd string right tackle out there coming out of Florida, his greatest strength is pass protection, not run blocking, right? And so I could understand why. And then going back to what you guys were saying about K9, I mean, his ability to create something out of nothing is honestly, what's keeping this ship from sinking, because if without him, the running game would almost be non-existent. But at the same time,
you're rotating right guards. And you're rotating right guard.
Anthony Bradford and Christian Haynes. The thing with Christian Haynes, I just don't think he has the power or the strength to be able to hold up, especially against interior defenders, right? He was a 4 or 5 year starter at Connecticut. I thought he was honestly the best guard coming out of the draft. But as far as play strength and power, he just doesn't have that yet. And Ryan Grubb is already on record talking about how Haynes needs to get stronger. If he wants to get more playing time, he has to pack on some more muscle. And so until he does that, I'm just not sure if Seattle's going to be able to figure out this riddle that is the right side of the offensive line, because again, I mean, on film, it shows up all the time. Guys don't know where they're going. Guys don't know who to block. There's a lack of communication. But at the same time, to kind of combat all that, you also have the quick passing game, right? I want to see some more layups. I want to see some more maybe jet sweeps from the receivers. I want to see some more screens to a Jason or a DK. Both these guys can't create after the catch. Before Ryan Grubb, when Pete Carroll was here, a lot of Seahawks fans will always complain about how, Seattle not only doesn't defend screens well, but Seattle doesn't run any screens, even though there are guys here that can't create in space, that can't create after the catch. And so from from or in looking at how Ryan Grubb is going to continue to implement this offense, I want to see some more layups. And that's also another way that you can combat having such a bad offensive line. Just to use the quick passing game a little bit more, right? Like I know Geno Smith can do some amazing things, and we know that he wants to throw it deep. We know that he wants to kind of put that on display, but use the quick passing game a little bit more.
Yeah, with a guy like Tyler Lockett, it could definitely work.
Oh, go ahead.
It could definitely work with Tyler Lockett.
Right. It's funny that you said that too. I got a question as far as like the passing game. I noticed that you guys, like to pass a lot. And I noticed that, Tyler Lockett is on the field and y'all hardly ever run the ball and everything. Like, do you feel like sometimes, like when you go going for those deep plays, that Geno is a little impatient sometimes? That's why he has 6 picks and 6 touchdowns at the same time?
Sure.
I think yes and no, right? I've broken down most of those interceptions. A lot of it it's because the pressure is just right in his face, right? Ooh. Like 2 of those against Miami, one of them was a batted ball, another one just pressure as soon as the ball was snapped, right? There was a defender right in his grill. And we can kind of nitpick when it comes to the interceptions, but just to answer your question, I'd say yes and no. Some of that is also on the offensive line, just breaking down at the point of attack.
Yeah. Speaking of the point of attack, man, this last week was an assumed get-right game using Chris's words against the Carolina Panthers. And I think Bro Talk kind of alluded to this on Twitter. Arnold Ebiketie actually should have been credited with a sack when he pushed Andy Dalton outside of the tackle box for a loss. But I don't know if the Falcons were credited with one. So as it stands right now, we walked out of this game last week in Carolina with a goose egg in the pass rush, or I'm sorry, the sack department. But going into this game, we're facing a Seahawks offensive line that ranks 28th in pass block win rate total at 52%, and also the run block ranked 27th with a 68% win total. This right here spells like the ultimate up and get right game for these Atlanta Falcons, who feature 2 very disruptive defensive tackles in David Onyemata, also Grady Jarrett, and not to mention, and who's not far behind, Rook Oro, our 2nd round pick. So, fellas, man, we also saw a glimpse out of Arnold Ebiketie. Now, Lorenzo Carter is presumed to be sick. As me and Smitty were talking, I think film room concussed him because he played like hot garbage against the Carolina Panthers. But, fellas, is this the game that this Falcons unit, this Falcons defensive line, or this front 7 comes to life, man, in the bins on Sunday, man? We'll say
we have to.
Okay, go ahead.
We have to, bro. Like, just this offensive line, man. You have guys, let's like Stone himself. He's a 3rd stringer, but he's giving up 35 pressures. That's by himself. Ooh, what I'm saying? Then you have the rest of the offensive line who's giving up at least 16. You Falcons, you have 10 individual players that have more sacks than you. Come on, man. This is another time to get out there and get Geno Smith. Sometimes he likes to burp the baby, patting in there a little bit too long. Hey, see if you can take advantage of that, man, and blow up the offensive line that's struggling, that's been battling injuries, especially that right side, trying to get it together. We've been waiting for a breakout game from Matthew Judon. He's been getting held a lot. Let's see if he can get through there and break through. Let's see if Aurora can come through, use his playing time to his advantage. It's time to get after the quarterback and get him on the ground. I'm going to continue to say that because I don't want to be one of those teams that problem shows up at the wrong time in the season. So continue to use games like this to get right against, 3rd stringers, 2nd stringers. It doesn't matter. You play who you play, and injuries are a part of the game. So take care of business and show that you're a good team. Continue to show that you're a good team. You can be 5-2. It's all up to you. You got to get the quarterback.
And I'm gonna go back to what I said last week. If you got to use defensive backs to get pressure on the quarterback, do it. Because at this point, you got to start forcing turnovers via fumbles and things like that. Because if you give Geno Smith time, he's going to pick you apart. Even though he makes mistakes, he's one of those guys that's not scared to take shots downfield. And as y'all seen Tyler Lockett his entire career, if this dude gets behind the defense, it's over with. So sacks are going to be key for them to win this game. Yeah, I know we can run the ball and we can make plays on offense, but the defense has to step up, get off the field on third down, force turnovers. Ain't nothing changed. So you got to come up with some kind of creativity on defense to get sacks. I don't care if it's D. Alford, Clark Phillips, Jesse Bates, Justin Simmons. Just do it.
I'm gonna kind of lean into that in a sense that preparation has to be key. And we've seen divisional opponents, blitz heavy opponents, the Buccaneers, the Aints. They show looks. They show looks, right? And going up against a right side that gets lost, like Steezy says, if you show them a look and you bail, somebody's going to get unblocked. You have to overload the right side. If it's sending 4 guys versus 3, someone's going to get there. Charles Cross, that left tackle, he's phenomenal. He's been playing a great season. Why are we going to try and send someone one-on-one with him? That we haven't been winning our one-on-ones. So at this point, it's getting those layups and overloading the side that's weakest. Sure, you can put K9 over there to help block Charbonnet. Doesn't matter. If you got Matthew Judon who beats Stone, and then you got K9 there, respect to K9, but Judon should win that every time. And it's gonna force that clock in Gino's head to speed up. We saw what it did when Adrian Claiborne terrorized Dak that one year. Yeah, things started happening for the Falcons. And Geno Smith is a great quarterback. He navigates the pocket really well. But if you speed up his clock even more than it's already sped up, someone's going to make a play on the defensive backside.
Agreed.
Indeed. Great point.
That's solid, man. Go ahead, Chris.
I was about to say to Smitty's point real quick. Falcons are 31st on third down. 31st in the league on third down because they give up, 48%. Yeah, they give up 48% to the opposing offenses. That's why I'm saying Falcons got to use this game as another opportunity to try to get right because they have to get better on that. That's not gonna work against a Geno Smith, honestly and respectfully.
Well, that's why first and second down are so crucial, right? How many times are we seeing the defense on the field when it's 3rd and 1, 3rd and inches, 3rd and 2? Those are layups for offenses. All you need is a yard. Quarterback sneak it, dive it. You get them in those 3rd and 7 and longs, you have a higher likelihood of getting off the field. So first and second down are crucial for the defense in this game.
We don't get many opportunities to pin our ears back. We really
don't. And that's exactly why I've been saying for the past 2 weeks, trade deadline, we need to get a big body, a 2-down player to put our 3rd down defense in favorable spots, man. We're rarely in long and 3rd and distances. This Falcons defense, man. So we need to capitalize on that. But we'll touch on that some other time. Go ahead.
Where the hell is Eddie Goldman at?
I don't know, man.
Hold on. Before we get on to the next subject, Eddie Goldman has been hit or miss this season. Okay,
well, he's had good games. A bunch last week.
Yeah. Well, hold on, bro. Okay, bro. That's besides the point, right? He's probably not a part of the game plan, and the coaching staff probably did not think they would get run over like they did, right? But Eddie Goldman, I've watched him get moved one-on-one 3 or 4 yards down the field. Connor Williams, he's a smaller offensive lineman, but he can move people. So let's not. Yes, Eddie Goldman's a big body, but is the big body doing its job holding 2-3 guys? Not always.
No.
Give me some more Rook. I want Rook to play the 0 to 3.
0 to 3.
Give me some Rook. 0 to 3.
Yeah. Man.
So Eddie needs some milk.
Nah, you don't need no milk. You're already big enough. You don't need no milk.
God.
Steezy, what in this game going up against the Falcons do you see the Seahawks trying to capitalize on? Is it, the Falcons' strength is obviously our secondary. I think we ranked 9th. But our run defense is yesterday's news. And you guys, much like the Atlanta Falcons, have 2 good running backs in Zach Charbonnet and also Kenneth Walker. Do you see, Ryan Grubb's game plan heavily, based off the run to set up the pass? I mean, Geno, like I mentioned, leading the league in passing, kind of save that as time goes on for this Seahawks offense, man. So what say you, my brother?
Yeah, honestly, brother, I think you you kind of laid it out, right? I think you're gonna have to run the football to set up the pass. I just think that, and Unc said this earlier, at the top of the show, Geno Smith does excel in the play action game, but because Seattle has been so one-dimensional offensively, you've almost negated or remove play action from the game plan, right? And so we haven't given Geno Smith a chance to shine at one of his biggest strengths, which is not only against man coverage, but also, in play action on offense. And so I think now is the time, week 7, we're almost at the midway point of the season. And if Ryan Grubb is going to keep this job ahead of this year at offensive coordinator, I mean, we're gonna have to start seeing more play action incorporated. We're gonna have to start seeing some more consistency as far as how often you're running the football. I know the right side of the line is a massive liability right now, and I don't know if this is a good thing. The Stone Forsythe didn't practice today. What's his name? Anthony Bradford also didn't practice today. And so if those two aren't ready to go, maybe just having fresh faces, at the right guard and at the right tackle spot, maybe that helps. But at the same time, you can't also set up more runs, towards the left side, up the middle. There's ways to get creative, right? Even if you have a liability on one side, there's ways to get creative. There's ways around that, especially for one of the brighter minds, at offensive coordinator. I know everything he did was in college, but he has shown a tendency to get creative and kind of mix things up a little bit. We just want to see him be a little bit more consistent with that. And at the same time, you guys talked about this earlier. I mean, the lack of a pass rush, right? The Atlanta Falcons are just dead last in the NFL with 5 sacks. Yeah. Bryce Hall. Derek Hall and the Seahawks has the same amount of sacks individually as you guys as a team, right? 5 and 5. And so,
that's why I said 10 players.
How dare you say
Exactly. But for one player, Derek Hall, that's not even our best pass rusher. Our best pass rusher is Boye Mafe. Boye Mafe has missed 2 of the last 3 games. He is good to go. He didn't have too much of an impact against the 49ers. He also wasn't 100%. Nobody is, right? But Seattle haven't had all this time off. By the time this game rolls around, Seattle would have had, 8, 9, 10 days of rest.
Yeah.
So Boye Mafe should be good to go. Derek Hall should be looking at, his sack count, and he's comparing that to the teams, and it's like, man, let me add to this tally. Let me see if I can finish this game with more than the Falcons, by the end of this game.
Right.
But Byron Murphy, he's only going to help open things up for everybody outside of him, right? He eats up so much space. He takes on so many double teams. I mean, I don't think people are giving him enough credit for the sort of impact. It's not going to show in the box score. It's not going to show statistically, but on film, just his sort of impact is going to open things up for everybody on the outside. And so,
and I think that's going to make Leonard Williams a little bit more dangerous on the inside too.
No doubt. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw some of those reps against Trent Williams, but Leonard Williams was having his way against Trent Williams, right? He was playing phenomenal, and that's without his partner in crime, right? Jerry Reed has been solid, but Byron Murphy is on a different level, right? And so I think that, tying us all back into what we want to do on offense, if you have the run game going, play action opens a lot of things up for this offense. And then if you guys are unable to get pressure, I mean, Geno's just going to dice all apart. I mean, when he has a clean pocket, when there's no pressure, that's just what he does, right? And so I think if Seattle can hold up, if they could run the football, if you can implement some more play action, more layups, more of the quick passing game, get the wide receivers involved, give them a sweep or two, run a couple of screens, and kind of just throw this defense off a little bit, I think Seattle can have some success.
Right.
Indeed, man. Fellas, we've seen Zach Robinson's play calling get, I want to say, better and better week in and week out. Last week was pretty good, distributing the ball, to the playmakers, Drake, Mooney, Pitts, Ray McLeod, man,
he's been doing
a fantastic job as wide receiver number 3, utilizing Bijan and Tyler last year very well. So is the key to this game, really running the ball or passing the ball, getting these pass catches more involved to open up the run lanes later down the game? Smitty, I'll ask you, man, what's your key for the Falcons going into Sunday's matchup?
Yeah, I'm gonna say it again, man. Use your bread and butter, stick to the run. I've been saying it all year, and I'm not going to stray from it. When you run the ball effectively like they did last week, that opens up the middle. That opens up the field. Kirk Cousins has more options. You see Darnell. You see Drake London the last 2 weeks had about 20-something catches the last 2 weeks. So run the ball, man, and let Kirk Cousins do his thing with the play action. If you can do that, man, then look, with a banged up Seahawks secondary, that's gonna be scary. And Darnell Mooney again, still to me, is playing like the number one receiver, even though Drake London is coming along. But that vertical threat for Darnell Mooney, I think, is going to be the key to this game this week, because that's one guy that slept on. And look, like I said about Tyler Lockett in Seattle, same thing about Darnell Mooney in Atlanta. They get behind the defense, you already know it's over with.
No, absolutely, I agree. The key thing for me would be Falcons win on first and second down. Because third down has been an Achilles heel for you. It's going to always look, the numbers and the stats are always going to look crazy because you started off so slow and so bad on third down. But you're starting to get a little bit better, getting a little bit more rhythm. Can win on first and second down to make it third and manageable. To keep the Seahawks defense on the field for long drives, and also in the red zone, make sure you're punching it in for 6. Make them be one-dimensional by default. And in the second half, you normally make adjustments. Basically my point is just make this be a game in your favor. Play at your tempo, at your speed, and make them play how you want them to, and control the time of possession. And I believe if you can do those things, you can make the game at least a little bit more easier, because the Seahawks, secondary, they're not slouches. They're pretty good too. They're a top 10 as far as like yardage. I believe the Falcons are 9th and the Seahawks are 10th, honestly, in pass defense. So as far as passing yardage and everything is an average. So it's not going to be just like a cakewalk. I believe, veteran experience is going to play a part. Kirk Cousins is going to have to be on one of his best games just to not, turn the ball over. I believe if you play smart, time of possession, play clean, you can walk away from this game, because I don't think it's going to be as easy as people think, because some people don't realize how close these two teams are in a lot of the same categories.
Mm-hmm. Facts. Kev, go ahead.
Well, for me, Steezy pointed out the dogs that they have on their defensive line.
They do. And
the offensive line has been playing well. Caleb McGarry was a little banged up. He's coming back. I'm looking at how the Seahawks line up in their nickel, and Leonard Williams is going to be going up against our young buck, Matthew Bergeron, and our all-pro guard, Chris Lindstrom. We've seen Lindstrom struggle at times with his pass protection this year, but Bergeron's been on it. How will they hold up? The tackles are going to be on islands. Where is Bijan going to help pick up in pass protection? Tyler. Where is Kyle Pitts, Charlie Werner, Chippen? Getting that control, like you guys have stated, where it's the quick passes, the run, keeping them on their heels to where they can't just watch the ball get snapped and tee off, is going to be crucial. Because if you allow all of them to tee off at the same time, good things will happen for them, and it's just going to throw the entire game plan off for the Falcons. So I have confidence in Zach Robinson. He's shown me he can figure out how to work around a team's strength and find their weak point. I think he can do it again, but now can the players execute? And, we have a backup center who's been playing well. Do the Seahawks attack someone like that, or attack Caleb McGarry, who's been known to give up sacks in pass protection? It's going to be a chess match, because I like Mike McDonald. I think he's a great defensive mind, and Zach Robinson's an up-and-coming offensive coordinator, so it's going to be a fun matchup.
Shoot, man, Mike McDonald was a candidate when we was looking for a head coach at one point in time. So, hey, just saying.
Yeah, he was my pick for the Falcons. If y'all remember, me doing that video on him, I think he was a great candidate. He landed in the perfect spot, because Seattle, we all know they build their team around defense as well. So it was definitely a good pick. But it's about that time, man. Let's get into X factors.
Yes, sir.
Ask a quick question to CZ real quick.
Go ahead.
On the defensive, when I saw Mike McDonald get hired, I thought the same thing. I thought, what a perfect fit. A defense that not per se needed it, but just a new, fresh mind with the pieces that they have. I was really surprised that they didn't add more in free agency, especially those Ravens that played for Mike McDonald that were free agents. I had linked Geno Stone, Patrick Queen to join the Seahawks because of the familiarity in the defense. Were you surprised that they weren't more aggressive in free agency to add to their defense?
Just a little bit, but at the same time, I understand why. Just because after you let go of a Pete Carroll, you're kind of at a crossroads as far as like the direction of this football team, right? And so it's like you don't want to sign a bunch of guys to long-term contracts in free agency because you don't know where you stand as a team, right? You don't know, okay, are we looking to contend, within the next couple of years? Is this going to be more of a retool? Is this going to be a rebuild? A lot of the talent was still intact, but at the same time, again, Mike McDonald has such a complex scheme. Even if you were to bring all those guys over, if this team is nowhere near contention, you signed a bunch of veterans to long-term contracts and you don't have a lot of flexibility. On top of that, there's a lot of dead money on the books, right? Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs are accounting for about $30 million in dead money just this year alone. And so it's like you didn't have too much money to already work with. And on top of that, you're at a crossroads as far as identity and what you want to do as far as how you want to build this football team moving forward. And so at the end of the day, when you have a new head coach and essentially a new regime on all sides of the football, special teams, defense, and offense, you want to have more of a clean slate and kind of try to start over. At least that's the way that I interpreted the lack of, bringing in Mike McDonald's guys.
That makes sense.
Yeah, great point. Yeah. But as I said, man, X factors. This point of the show where we have fun, man. Talk about X factors, key matchups. And we're gonna start with the guess as usual, man. X factor for this game, Steezy. Who you got?
You want me to give a X factor for the Seahawks or for the Falcons?
Yeah, Seahawks.
No, Seahawks. For the Seahawks.
Yeah, that's kind of a dumb question. I have
there ain't no such thing as a dumb question, brother.
Come on over, man. Come on over.
Hey, if you want to, hey, we got room.
Because I got one for you guys. I already talked about them earlier, but one for the Seahawks. I mean, honestly, I'm gonna go with whoever starts at right tackle. Because it's probably not. I don't think it's gonna be Stone Forsythe, right? And so I think whoever starts at right tackle, right? I mean, for your guys' sake, I can see why. But I know I talked earlier about how you could work around a liability, but we just don't want to give free opportunity, especially for Matthew Judon, right? I mean, he's one of the best pass rushers in all National Football League. And so if this is his get right game, I mean, Seattle could be in for a lot of trouble. And so I think whoever's at right tackle for the Seattle Seahawks, there's going to be a lot of responsibility. There's going to be a lot to have to, not work with, but there's a lot on your shoulders, right? And so I think whoever starts at right tackle, whatever the game plan is, whether it's to pivot away from the right side, I just think that there's still going to be a lot on his shoulders. And so, I talked about running the football. Whoever's starting at right tackle, I mean, maybe he'll do better than a Stone Forsythe just because, like I said earlier, his greatest strength was never run blocking. And so that's going to be my X factor. I don't know who it's going to be, but it's the right tackle.
What about defense?
On defense, I'm going to say Byron Murphy, right? I'm going to say Byron Murphy just because of the attention that he commands on the inside and his ability to kind of open things up for everybody else on the outside. You guys know this, but Byron Murphy, he's missed the last 3 games for the Seahawks. And in turn, Seattle just has not been able to get after the quarterback in the same way. Boy, Mafe is also missing time. Derek Hall, meanwhile, has been able to get after the quarterback, and that's without, somebody on the inside taking on double teams and just, swallowing up so much space. And so I think Byron Murphy's going to open up a lot of things for our edge rushers, for our pass rushers, and I think he's going to be the X factor on defense.
Yeah, and I actually had Byron Murphy as the sleeper for the number 8 pick for the Atlanta Falcons in the draft. Because that dude is super disruptive. We talked about what the other kid that went to Tennessee, who went in the second round. T'Vondre Sweat. We talked about him a lot. But without Byron Murphy, there's no T'Vondre Sweat. So, Byron Murphy was a wrecking machine at Texas, and I think he would have been an excellent fit with the Falcons.
Whew. I'm glad that didn't happen.
Shit. Things tend to happen. That would be beautiful.
Yeah, but X factor for me, man. I think I'm gonna go Darnell Mooney. Like I said, man, he is the type of player with this type of game with injuries in their secondary. He could have a big game this week, and really get his name out there a little bit more, because a lot of people, not me, but a lot of people, they were questioning why we signed a guy like this to a 3-year deal, but he's showing y'all why. He didn't have a quarterback in Chicago. And now he has a quarterback that can get him the football. So look, Darnell Mooney for the Falcons could be the X factor this game. Defense. I'm gonna go whoever plays cornerback too, because Tyler Lockett, just like I said with Darnell Mooney, he's one of those guys. He can just sneak behind the secondary or sneak down in the zone and make catches and extend drives. So Tyler Lockett, if y'all see him moving around the field, y'all move wherever he moves, because he's one of those guys that can take over the game. And talking about taking deep shots, hey, look, that dude, he's been around a while and he knows how to get open. So Clark Phillips, D. Alford, and whoever else plays that number 2, stay on top of your P's and Q's.
Oh, yeah. Hey, one thing about it, if Tyler Lockett is on the field, they're throwing the ball. Okay, just know that. But okay, as far as my X factor on offense, I'm going with my numero uno, my number 1 wide receiver, Drake London. He has been on fire. He's been catching passes, man. He has 117 yards after the catch. That means he's a big body. You hit him, it doesn't matter. He'll spin off and keep going. This is another game where I need Drake to go ahead and prove that he's the number 1 against a talented secondary with the Seahawks. They don't allow a lot, but Drake is averaging over a first down, has 4 touchdowns, and I believe that he can add to that total and show that he's the number 1. I want Drake London to attack this defense as much as they possibly can, move them around. They've been using them in that slot position, kind of like Puka Nacua, and I want to see more. So Drake London, I did it week 1. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to come back around, swing back around on you on week 7. Go ahead and take care of business. On defense, I'm going to go. That's kind of tough. That's tough. But I'm going to go Grady Jarrett. I'm going to go Grady Jarrett.
You don't say Lorenzo Carter, we good.
No. Lorenzo Carter would never be my X factor. I'm done with that. I'm done. But yeah, it's going to be Grady Jarrett. I was kind of leaning to Ruka Roro because I want him to take advantage of his snaps, but I'm going to say Grady Jarrett to help out on this defensive line, to penetrate this offensive line. Him, Amanyata, Matthew Judon, they're going to be getting after the quarterback. I want to see what Grady Jarrett has. I want to see Grady Jarrett go out there and be that disruptor. Have what I got, Dave Archer out there saying you shall not pass and all that good stuff. Like I want to see a great game from Grady Jarrett, because I believe if he's having a great game, that means it's trouble in all other places as well, because other guys are getting free. Other guys are being able to get to the quarterback, and you're just going to see that chemistry on that defensive line. Another time to get right. Let's see it, Atlanta Falcons. Let's see this pass rush get a little bit better. Grady Jarrett, Drake London, I'm looking at you 2 guys.
Kev, run it.
Offensively, I think it goes to the main man, Captain Kirk, and just getting everyone in the spot that they need to be. Looking at this defense, I slept on them in the offseason. And then I saw, just before actually the season started, I kind of reassessed and I was like, wait a minute. I was like, this defense could be legit. And they are. They can disrupt any team. And if anyone can get everyone in their spot, offensive line, running backs and pass protection, checking the play to where it's needed, to where those quick, effective throws can happen, screens, whatever. I know everyone hates the screens when they're shown because they haven't, Jonnu Smith hasn't broken out for 70 yards on a screen yet, but
yeah,
Jonnu Smith.
Jonnu, baby.
Kirk is going to be crucial with checking the protection and just making sure everyone is on the same page. Defensively, right. I did this for the offensive side the first few weeks. I'm going to do this for the defense. I'm looking at you, Jimmy Lake, and the scheme and game plan to attack that weaker offensive line. And what are you going to do when all 3 of the wide receivers, the big 3, I'll even throw in Jake Bobo in there because he can be disruptive. He's underrated in my opinion. What are you going to do? What are you going to do when, Geno starts getting all this time? How will you adjust? What is your game plan to stop their run? I know you can do it. I know he's a first-time defensive coordinator, but he's got the backing of Raheem Morris. He's running his scheme, and he's just the one calling the plays. He can do it just like Zach Robinson did it. I may make another meme before this Saturday. You know, stun on these hoes because I know Jimmy.
There we go, baby. Stun on these hoes, man. And next time when you saying what you're gonna do, you definitely got to point at the camera when you say that, brother. But to you, Berto.
Yes. Thank you. Oh well, I'm so, what a host. Thank you, Chris. Goddamn. Treated good in my own house. I love it, man. So I'm gonna give you two quick X factors. Not gonna really surprise you, but it might surprise you. God damn it. I'm going Charlie Warner in this one as an X factor because as Steezy alluded to earlier, man, Boye Mafe coming back, Hall being very disruptive, and Lord knows that our tackles are gonna need some of that help too, man. So Charlie Warner is going to be critical in the chip department there, and also is going to be big in the run game. You see how effective he was last week in that Carolina Panthers game, really helping set the edge and clear some lanes for these Falcon running backs. So I look at Charlie Warner to get another heavy dose of that assignment in clearing lanes and holding up in certain blocks. And for defense, I'm going to go Nate Landman, man. Nate Landman came back last week, 8 total tackles. This is going to be a very physical run game. I feel like with the Falcons reeling a bit and the run defense, actually one of the worst run defending teams in the NFL, we're probably going to be treated to a heavy dose of Zach and Kenneth. So what is Nate Landman and company going to do to go ahead and try and shut that down? So I look for Nate Landman to really fill in some spots and really neutralize that. He's our downhill linebacker, our kind of our do-it-all linebacker, really,
Yeah.
So I look at him to have a big game for the Falcons defense. So Nate Landman for me on defense, Charlie Warner for me on offense, fellas. And this here will now kick us into the last part of the show where we ask everybody to please drop your score predictions. Steezy, as the guest, we're gonna start with you.
Hey, Berto, before we go on,
keeping it 100. Go ahead.
Berto, before we go on, you got to answer Miss Angela. She said, "How you been?"
Yeah, man. Don't be. Hey.
Oh, I've been great, Miss Angela. Been great. Thank you so much for asking. I appreciate that.
Get right now.
She said Tyler Algier is her X factor.
I love
that's
it.
A beautiful
man.
X factor.
I love it. But Steezy, man, your score prediction.
Hey, just allow me to preface by saying that before today's show, or actually before today, right? I actually had Atlanta winning. I just felt like, with Seattle reeling, Uchenna Nwosu, I haven't even talked about him all show. He just landed on IR sometime last week, and that's a big loss. I think he's one of the more underrated, one of the better, complete edge rushers in all of football. He can stop the run. He can get after the quarterback. He's a leader. He's a voice. There's a lot of energy and passion with which he plays with. And so, him not being there, that's definitely going to hurt. But then I heard the news of Seattle, holding that meeting right between Mike Macdonald and all the players. And I'm not saying that all is fixed now. I just think that, when you've had that time off, when you have a meeting like that, the players kind of get together, it's a time to get right. Byron Murphy, coming back. Reek might not play, but there's a chance, right? I'm gonna have to lean towards Seattle here. I do think it's gonna be a high scoring affair. I think it is gonna be a shootout. Right now, you guys, Atlanta, what's the stat? You guys are 4-0 versus the NFC this year.
Yes, sir.
The Seahawks are 0-3 against the NFC this year, but 3-0 against the AFC. So something got to give, right? It's either going to be your guys' dominance of the NFC, or it could be Seattle's ineptitude against the NFC. Something got to give, and I just think that a 4-game losing streak, that's oh man, your season's pretty much over at that point. Schedule's only going to get tougher. Seattle has the Bills, the Rams with the Cooper Kupp and the Puka Nacua, the Niners, and then a bye. Like, this schedule is going to get real tough for the Seahawks. I'm not saying that, the Falcons, you guys are going to be pushovers. Again, these two teams, Chris, like you alluded to all show, these are two evenly matched teams. I just think right now Seattle is slightly more desperate, and yeah, they come out on top in a high scoring affair. I'm going to say Seattle 31, Atlanta 28.
Damn.
Field goal.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
Close game.
Bro talk.
Bro talk. Go ahead, bro. Go ahead, Kev.
Kev, go ahead.
Get him, Kev. Get him, Kev.
Kev gets impatient, and we can tell when he gets impatient because the memes come to life. The face who features They're still highlighted.
The wheels be turning. You be like,
For real, yo.
Hey, am I really that easy to read? Oh my goodness.
Hey man, I'm trying to tell you, but we see your plays before you hit the snap.
Wow. Are you calling me Arthur Smith?
Oh no.
Damn, brother. Damn. That's cold. That is cold.
Anyway. I would never do you like that, man. I got love for you.
Oh man,
that's cold, Chris. That's cold.
I do think this game is going to be close for the majority of the game. I think both offenses will do good things. I think second half, Atlanta will make the better adjustments of the two, and will take advantage of what they see going in to the second half from the first half. I have it Atlanta pulling away in the second half, 27-17.
Oof.
I like it.
Wow.
Well, I'm not gonna lie to you. Again, evenly matched teams. I think that first half is going to be a slugfest. Honestly, not even necessarily just putting up a lot of points, but just a chess match. Two teams trying to figure each other out, trying to figure out what works, trying to see if they can, take advantage of each other's run defense definitely for one, and who can come up with a big play to kind of like open up and gain some distance. In this game, I will say that the Falcons are going to exceed the 30-point mark yet again. And the Falcons are going to win this game. I'm going to go 36-24.
Wow.
I see.
36-24.
I can't top that one, but I'm going to try.
Yeah, with the second half. The second half, they're probably only going to score one time.
But as you alluded to earlier, I think this is the game the defense has to wake up. And they've scored 30 points, I think, in 3 straight games. And we don't see that too often around here. So this game, I think they come back down to earth just a little bit. I think they can shut down Seattle if they make them one-dimensional, which I think they will. So I'm going to go 24-14. I think Kirk Cousins still has a tough game, but I think this running game is going to be the must-watch this game. They're going to control the clock. They're going to chew up clock. And I think it's going to keep the score low. So I'm going 24-14 Falcons. I think Bijan gets his first 100-yard game of the season, probably scores 2 more touchdowns. And I think Tyler Algier probably can go for 75, 80 yards as well. So 24-14 Falcons.
I like it, man, but I'm gonna go here. Owners of 74 points combined the last 2 games are the Atlanta Falcons, so I think the trend continues. Give me 38-30 Falcons, of course. This Falcons defense gives up points, and that's just a fact. So, with the Seahawks having some incredible playmakers on all levels, tight end, well, not tight end, unfortunately, but the running back position and the wide receiver position is enough. Hey, man, look, it's enough to give some defense fits, and Atlanta's a defense is not all that great just yet. So give me 38-30 Atlanta Falcons.
Man.
Right on time,
man. And that concludes.
Hey, we got some blowouts in the chat too.
We
Mike
do,
man.
38-9. You want to know how much of a statement that would be right there? 56 baby. Let's get it.
I was looking at that.
Talk about getting right.
For real, man. Mama Puñeta, Puerto Rico in the house. Ya tu sabes. Love it, man. So we get love from all parts of the world, man. Definitely do, man.
20-30, that's realistic,
man. That is very realistic, man. So, Steezy, man, it's been great having you on, man. We appreciate you taking the time out, out of your busy schedule to come and rock with us, man. You certainly, always a great time when you're around, man. Of course, much respect and good luck the rest of the year for your Seattle Seahawks, man. And, tell the folks where they can find you. Do you have any up and coming projects that you're working on that folks can look out for? Just please let them know, man.
Man, a lot of love for each and every single one of y'all. Chris, nice to meet you. Kev, nice to meet you. Unc, always a pleasure. Berto, always a pleasure. Before you guys, go out and try to look for me, I mean, if you guys aren't already subscribed to Smitty Sports Machine, 95 North Sports Machine. I mean, your guys' team or your guys' group. If you guys aren't tapped into whoever is watching, whoever will watch, you guys better be sure to tap in, show them some love, hit that like, drop a comment, tell a friend and tell a friend. Once you go ahead and do that, then I don't just post Seahawks stuff. Other things that are going on around here in Seattle. I try to do everything. I got a lot of interviews lined up, with a lot of different players. I'm still waiting on clearance, but some of the names: Reek Woolen, Jake Bobo, Jaron Reed, Michael Jarrell, AJ Barner. I've been in talks with a lot of players, and so if you guys like interviews, if you're just a fan of the NFL, if you're just a fan of football, I don't expect a lot of Seahawks fans out here. But if any of that sounds interesting, then go ahead and tap in. Ask Steezy A. Smith, all social media platforms, man.
That's definitely going to tap in, brother. Definitely going to tap in.
That's Bro talk. Let them know what's going on, man.
Sorry, I put a chip in my mouth.
Look, there he goes.
Always
easy. You and Smitty, I don't know what's going on. Berto, what we gonna do with him? We can't take him nowhere.
On air, bro.
We can't take him nowhere. Embarrassing in front of company. We got Steezy in the building.
Man, I already knew Steezy's cool, man. We ain't gotta worry about Steezy. Come on, man. Look, if Steezy was right here, I'd give him some food because he's the only one not giving me lip service about eating. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Be your own people, Steezy. Anyways, as always, guys, you can catch me at BK Squared on Twitter, Falcons, NFL. I'm live tweeting every single day. You guys see it, the crazy theories, the crazy expectations, and the positivity that this Falcons fan base needs at times. Mm-hmm. And you can also catch me on TikTok and YouTube at Dirty Birds Central.
Hey, kid, don't catch this.
Oh, damn. Damn.
Y'all had that ready.
Oh yeah.
That's my first one I ever got.
I say, you stay ready, so you don't have to get ready. You know what I'm saying?
And all seriously, bro talk. Please, man. You got to share the good news, bro. You got to share the good news.
Got to.
The good news.
You got to share the good news, man. But you won the spot, player.
I know, right? I don't like the spotlight at times, right?
Come on, man.
I've been, from all the love and support from everyone, on Twitter, TikTok, even the guys here at 95 Sports Machine. I have been given the privilege of, being a part of the new 5-hour energy promotion that they're coming out. I don't know that I can release their new flavor name, but just be on the lookout. Your boy is going to be part of the 5-hour energy team for the rest of the football season. So it's a pretty exciting opportunity. We'll see where it leads, but I want to thank everyone for their continued support. So thank you very much.
Sir,
congratulations on that, man. Well done,
brother. That's what I'm talking about. Growth.
Congratulations.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's why I call you Kevontae right there.
Damn.
I'll tell you this. Hold on, real quick before we end the show. For many of you that don't know, I always get asked, what my heritage is. For those of you that don't know, I'm half Mexican, half Persian. Okay. Kev is short for Kevin. Kayvon is Kevin in Farsi in my dad's language. So you're not too far off.
Yes, sir.
Hey,
there's your lesson of the day.
Look at that.
Christian, you know that.
Look at that. What you talking about, man? I'm cultural. He just do me like that, man. Get right now. Get right.
Damn. Ain't that something? Wow.
We gotta give a shout out to Uncle Louis, man. This is Tyler Achill's uncle. Shout out to Uncle Louis, man. Thank you for always supporting the sports machine, man. We appreciate it. But
always
y'all know where to find me, man. Miss Angela said, congratulations, Kev. Y'all know where to find me, man. Smitty Sports Machine on YouTube, Twitter at FatBoySlam_21. You see it right there on the screen. I'm always on Twitter starting shit and blowing it up, but that's what I do. And I got a tag team partner in Kev right now, so that's what we do, man. We see things, we just run with it. But catch me every Tuesday night, 7:00. Shut up, Chris. Catch me 7:00 on Tuesday. NFC South Roundtable, man. We went hard last night, man. Had a great time. On the show last night. Y'all stay tuned for the preview show. The preview show for the NFC South tomorrow morning. They are going to release on the NFC South Roundtable. Man, look, I couldn't ask for a better group to have fun with as far as content creators for other teams. TJ, who I'm always busting his balls all the time, pause. My boy Clay and my boy James, and shout out to James, man. Still pray for Tampa, man. They're still recovering from those hurricanes. So shout out to those guys, man.
Can't skip over Chris. Let them know where they find you, Chris.
Oh man, you already
they can find
know what's
Chris
going on.
24/7. That's where they can find.
Bro,
I gotta do some work sometime.
He tried to insult your intelligence first, and then now he's you bullshitting.
I'm the
Damn, Smitty.
Now Smitty don't nobody bullshit more than him.
Right,
we know that. We know don't nobody love bullshit more than Smitty. We know that. We know.
Hey, that's what I do.
Bullshit. We know.
That's what I do.
Hey man, A1 Forever Sports, man, the platform on YouTube, man. We be generational because it's always time to be, and we don't settle for less because you can always have more with the vision. I appreciate everybody on this panel. Steezy, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. You're this guy. But you're very, very intellectual. You know what you're talking about your team, man. It was great to have you on. So hopefully we can do more projects and stuff like that together. Falcon fans, man, catch your boy on the sidelines this Sunday. I think I'm gonna be on the sidelines. I don't know. They may have me in the booth working with Fox this Sunday for the Seahawks and Falcons game. So, if you're going to the game, you may walk around, may end up seeing me on the sidelines. Shoot the deuces. I'll shoot them back. On Twitter and Instagram, A1 Forever. Also, TikTok, the real A1 Forever, man. If you ain't already done it, make sure you find your peace today. Positive energy always creates elevation, and be thoroughly convinced. Peace and blessings to you.
Guys, I think I found out who the troll on Twitter was that was blocking everybody.
What happened?
I think it was Smitty. Smitty's on some
shit
tonight, man. Smitty's undercover. The guy that's been blocking
everybody. That makes sense.
Smitty, goddamn it.
Smitty created the profile, and he out there blocking everybody.
All right, man.
Blowing up Twitter.
It's your boy Birdo, host of the 95 North Falcons talk show, also the host of the 95 North Sports Machine. You can catch me on YouTube under the first one, 95 North Falcons talk show. You can also find me on Twitter under RI Falcons. And I'm also your exclusive at Bleacher Report content creator for these very same Atlanta Falcons. Catch me at 4:05 in the afternoon on Sunday. I'll be breaking down the game, giving my quick post-game reaction and analysis to what went good, what went right for the Falcons. In a win, sorry, Steez. I love you, bro. But
ain't no hard feelings, brother, man. Ain't no hard feelings.
Oh, man. But you already know how we get down, man. Look out for us around 4:30 on Sunday afternoon post-game reaction show on all of Sunday's action with the Seahawks and Atlanta Falcons. But until then, we'll give you your Wednesday evening back. And Smitty, end the show because I don't know what the hell's going on with my mouse, man.
Hey,
mouse in the house.
End it this way then, because look, I mean. You've been around Chris too long. You don't start bullshit.
Me got this is my fault. You see how I be getting blamed for everything, and I ain't got nothing to do with nothing.
You gonna get blamed for it, man. You always got to get blamed for it.
All right, y'all, man. We out of here, man.